um, check out what it was like to, have sex with a woman. And but it's a very hoppy little rock song that was a lot of fun. And so I have more than just being a flat musician. Have incorporated comedy and more meaningful types of monologues into the music and stuff. One adventure I had that it took me a while to work it out, but it's been really fun. And I did it because it's really hard to be in a band. It's like, say, being married to 3 other people. So I had this idea, gosh, what if I decided to make life-size cutouts of myself playing drums, the upright bass, and the electric guitar, all of which I do play to some degree. Mm-hmm. And I recorded some of my songs, and on stage I sang live while the music that I really wrote and recorded was playing, and these cutouts are standing behind me, and I call this act Uncle Jaen and the Cutouts. At the end of the night, I fold them up, take the money, and go home.
Well, at least you wouldn't have to pay the band.
Well, that's right, and you don't have to argue and get along. But that was a whole lot of fun. I did that over on Orcas Island, where I've lived most of the time. I've been in the Northwest. And let's see. Well, and I do have some songs that aren't just about comedy. And one song I'm really quite proud of is a song called "Last Resort," and it was written in honor of Eileen Wuornos, who some of you may recall that name, but she has gone down in history as the first female serial killer of our time.
Okay.
And she was executed in October the 9th, I believe, in '02, in the first fall I lived up here. And she was the woman down in Florida that ended up killing about 7 different guys all along the I-75 corridor that runs right through the middle of Florida. And I took a great interest in her case, and I was living in Atlanta at the time. And it was just interesting, of course, that how they started finding these guys, and where they were murdered were on these very desolate old sand roads off of old truck stops running through that I-75. It's kind of forgotten land, really, and eventually somebody saw her, and actually she wasn't a lesbian all her life, but she was in a lesbian relationship at the time. And in the Atlanta paper, I remember they did a composite sketch of her and her girlfriend, and they were such horrendous-looking pictures. And Eileen was just looked like a bitch from hell, and her girlfriend looked like an apple with a baseball cap on. And I don't know, it was just interesting as it developed that she was this woman, and what all happened. And when eventually she was caught, to a lot of people, they might really be disgusted by this, but I had real compassion for Eileen Wuornos as a woman who has suffered abuse of different kinds, and as a woman, and as women continue to dominate crime statistics.
Yeah,
I did have.
In fact, those of you that don't know anything about her, go ahead and go to truetv.com and just do a search for her name. That's AILEENWO, WUORNOS, and you'll understand who we're talking about and why she can have some compassion for her. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so as the details came out about Eileen, she started being a prostitute when she was 14, and she was sexually abused to a great degree by her grandfather. That she was a thrown away child basically, from Detroit, and she made her way down to the South and was living in the Daytona area, Daytona Beach, Florida.
Yeah, in fact, during her testimony, she claimed to have had sex with over 250,000, not 250, 250,000 men. And they turned around and disputed that, but then as they searched into it and people came forward, it was actually widely reported as truth. Now,
well,
that's
I
kind of...
believe that. She was no Mayflower madam. In fact, she was a real $20 blowjob off the side of the road gal. And I think she probably was. It wasn't called meth at the time. It was, but she had a real profile consistent with a speed freak.
She was into what you and I remember, and some of the listeners will remember as the cross tops, all the speed black beauties.
Yeah, or crank, just snorting, regular street drug speed. And she was an alcoholic, most likely. And I feel like that. Not that she was any angel. She had a lot of misdemeanor convictions for this, that, and the other, and weird check things and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, she was a blue-collar hooker, and she hitchhiked from Daytona to the I-75, where there are these truck stops periodically, and it's a great place to pick up a $20 blowjob piece of work. And she would work the freeway all day, maybe make $100, maybe turn 5 tricks, or God knows, 20 tricks, who knows, and then hitchhike back to Daytona and have a few beers and a couple of lines, And so the way this started out is for anybody that has seen that movie Monsters. It was really pretty. A lot of the whole thing was pretty accurate in that, the way it all started is, hey, she went about her day to do $20 blowjobs and picked up this dude who had a rape conviction like 10 years before, which is not even being admissible in court, and this guy raped her over the coals. I mean, seriously, and somehow he had a pistol that she got a hold of, and she killed that guy. And she went, well, hey, take this, mofo. I'm getting a ride home today. So she dumped him out of the car, cleaned it up, drove it back to Daytona, and went, the hell with this. And but she wasn't brilliant, and she started, she hung on to the car and went back to the motel and took the girlfriend. Now, this was the worst thing about the movie, because in the movie, they represented Ty Moore, who was her girlfriend, as this little preacher's daughter who, just wandered down to the South and really wasn't much of was an innocent kind of person. Well, in real life, Ty Moore was not this. She was a big old confirmed bull dyke that, I don't know why they had to have some little petite little thing. It would have, I just think it would be good to tell the story, the truth, but Hollywood is what it is. Anyway, and Ty eventually rolled on Eileen. But Eileen would go back to there and spend all the money and, was supporting her really too. And she didn't set out to kill this man, but when push came to shove, truth is, if she hadn't killed him, he probably would have killed her that night. She was kind of on her way out when she found that gun. And, a few days later, I don't feel like she went, hey, what a great idea. I'll start killing these guys. and she was going, God, I feel bloodthirsty, and I can't wait to kill another asshole, you know. I feel like she got up, put on her hooker suit, and got back on the freeway to do another $20 blowjob. And you know, let's face it, when you have some old dude, and a lot of these guys, they were just $20 blowjob kind of blokes that you get some chick off of way down off of some old sand road down in the mangroves, and ain't nobody going to be fair with her. And she got ripped off, and they did treat her bad, and she just had enough, and so she was willing to do the $20 blowjob. But if it started going bad and they started to rip her off, she pulled that pistol out and popped them, you know.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I really defend the concept that she was a classic serial killer, because I don't think even on the 7th when she set out to kill the guy, you know, I really don't. But I think she snapped and she went, you know, I'll do what I say I'm going to do, but if you give me any shit, I'm going to kill you, you know.
Exactly.
And I'm going to ride your car home, and you know, and of course eventually that is what happened. She hung on to their belongings that were in the cars and was hawking some of the tools and this, that, and the other, and you know, it all went downhill. But anyway, I know it's a long story, but after she got busted, I wrote her a letter, because as a writer and a person who had compassion for her,
mm-hmm.
I felt like I could do her some honorable good of just
justice,
talking about what her life was about. And, you know, let me just say, too, the things I just said in the story that I think went in my mind. I mean, it's in my mind, but I kind of feel like it probably is pretty true, you know, because why didn't you start killing people a long time ago? I mean, you know.
Well, my opinion on the case, I mean, now, I wasn't there, but I am a former deputy sheriff, Fresno, California, and from what I recall on the case back in the 90s, it all happened, I believe it all happened within a year, from November to November.
That's right. It was a very short period of time.
And the one thing that caused her to be called the serial killer, you know, the mass murderer, the whole aspect, and get the death penalty was, I believe his name was Chuck or Charles. He was a retired Air Force major, and he was also a former chief of police.
Huh.
And that was one of the guys that she killed. And I believe, knowing the law and knowing the way it's an eye for an eye more for police officers than anybody else, I believe that they went after her mainly because of that. She could have killed everybody else, but when she killed him, which was like her second or third, when she killed him, that's when she turned the tables.
You know, Mike, you're probably right about that. I didn't really know that piece of information somehow. Yeah. But I think you're probably right, because it wasn't like a classic, like, you know, these guys that go out and kill women and the same, you know, they killed to kill, not to make 20 bucks.
You know, let's look at it this way. Jeffrey Dahmer.
Right.
How many people did he kill and eat?
God knows, honey.
And where did he end up dying? In his jail cell from somebody else's hands. Yeah.
I know. I mean, he was a pathetic guy, too, but, you know, in the end, so I did write Eileen, and I said, you know, if you're interested to talk to me about, you know, documenting some things that you would like documented, you know, and you know, write me back, and we'll go from there. Or B, I forget what I said B was, but C, I said fuck off and never write me again. And so a few weeks went by, and I'm going, oh, God, what have I done? What if Eileen Werner shows up on my doorstep because she had my address with the letter? And one day I get a letter in the mail from Volusia County Jail where she was, and I opened it up, and there was this half-page,